we're starting with Chapter 5, Section 1, which deals with angles and degree measure. What we're going to do right now is we're going to label some things. We've made an angle here. This part right here, this is where we started our angle. That is referred to as the initial side. Think of the word initial. What does the word initial essentially mean? To start, where you begin, right? Initially, on break, I was able to go golfing because it wasn't raining, right? But I wasn't able to do any golfing after the first few days because then what did it do basically all Christmas break? What did it do? It rained, all right? Which means the race. Yes, it did rain. You didn't think it rained? Oh, it rained. It was soaking wet. All right, by the way, this side is not where we started, it's where we ended, and that's referred to as the terminal side. All right, you guys ever watched the movie The Terminator? Right? What does he do? He terminates people. What does that mean? He ends there. He doesn't start people's lives, he ends it. Right? So this is referred to as the terminal side. Okay? Now, how many degrees are in a circle? 360. 360 is correct. All right? Now, if I started here and I made an angle go from the initial side to the terminal side, all right, and I said that's 120 degrees, we went the direction known as counterclockwise. And counterclockwise means we're going in a positive direction. Because when you guys first learn the coordinate grid, okay, when you guys are dealing with the Cartesian plane, what do you guys always start with when you guys first start it? And you start in the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, what's cool about the first quadrant? Everything's what? Positive, right? All the x values are positive, all the y values are positive. And so all kids start plotting points in the first quadrant, okay? But then all of a sudden you have other quadrants that are introduced to you. The second quadrant, what's special about the second quadrant? The x values are negative, but the y values are positive. All right, this is where teenagers live. Okay, the third quadrant. Those teenagers live in the third quadrant. Why do they live in the third quadrant? Because they're always negative. That's right, negative x and negative y. Okay, and over here we have positive x, negative y. All right, so understanding where you are located, okay, is going to be important. So if we go positive 120 degrees, here's what that means. That means I started here and I rotated 120 degrees counterclockwise and I finished there. Well, guess what? There's another way to get there, isn't there? I can start here, but I can go not counterclockwise, I could go clockwise and still finish at the exact same spot. So if I do that, change colors here. What if I start here and I go not counter, but I go clockwise? How many degrees have I turned? If counterclockwise is positive, then clockwise is negative 240 degrees. Now, I want you guys to understand the absolute value, which means the positive version of this number, okay? And the absolute value of this, what are they always going to add up to? They're always going to add up to 360, okay? So I want you to think, right now, can you guys see kind of the circle that's made out of those two pieces? I know it's not a very good circle, okay? But can you see how it kind of builds? The rotations build the circle if you were imagining it rotate. Okay? So, right now, these are considered to be coterminal angles. I want you guys to write this down. Negative 240 degrees and positive 120 degrees are considered to be coterminal angles. Who here has a job? You have a job where you work?
I do.
All right. And you have a co-worker? It means you work at the same place. Coterminal angles end up finishing at the exact same spot. Okay? So what I want you guys to do right now, all right, as you've kind of written this down, let's look at one of our little examples here. I'm going to zoom in. We did that first one. Ooh. So on this one right here, this says the initial side. I'm going to label the initial side right here. There's my initial side. Here's my terminal side. And how far have we traveled? We've traveled what? Negative 120 degrees. So what's the coterminal angle for this? Positive 240. Which is kind of what? It's kind of like the reverse of what? The reverse of this one. This one was positive 120 and negative 240. This one is the opposite, right? Negative 120 and positive. So those would be the coterminal. Before we move on to the next topic, let's think about this. We start right here, and we finish here. So remember, what I want you guys to think of, I want you guys to think of a what? Think of a circle, right? So if we think of a circle, and it kind of growing like that, this right here is a positive 190. So what's the other way to get there? Close. That's right. All right, so our coterminal angles here are positive 90 degrees and negative 270. The negative 270 is if we did what? If we went this direction, the clockwise direction. So remember, clockwise means you're going in a negative. Counterclockwise means you're going in a positive. Don't think of time. This is not dealing with time and rotating of a clock, okay? All right, it's just telling you the direction of the angle that's being created. All right, in problem number 1, we have 28.955, and that symbol is your degree symbol. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this into degrees, which is this symbol. We're going to change it into minutes, which is 1 tick mark. And then we're going to also figure out how many seconds there are. Okay? So this is where sometimes what you previous knowledge will kind of help you here. How many whole degrees do we have in this? No. We have how many whole degrees? 28. So we have 28 whole degrees. Okay? Now, in your journal, what I'd like you guys to write, I want you guys to write 1 degree. 1 whole degree has a total of 60 minutes in every single degree. Now that means it's 60, it's called 60 minutes. There's the symbol for it, all right? That's 60 minutes, all right? Now, 1 whole degree also can be broken into seconds. You could say 1 whole degree has 3,600 seconds in it. All right, which means you could write it as 3,600 seconds. 60 minutes. Okay, I'll say that 60 minutes. 1 minute has a total of how many seconds? 60 seconds. So you could write 60 seconds. So you can say 1 minute equals 60 seconds. 1 degree is equal to 60 minutes, which is equal to 3,600 seconds. So I'm going to let you guys write this down here so you have like a little conversion chart in your journal. Okay? So I want you guys to understand what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, let's just make believe that this right here, okay? We're going to make believe right here that this right here, everybody, is equal to 1 degree. I understand that angle is bigger than 1 degree, okay? But we're going to say that's 1 degree. I want you to understand that if I were to break that down into minutes, how many little tick marks would I have to make going all the way down to inside of that to show you how many little tiny minutes? How many would that have to break down to? You have to break that down to 60 of those. And then if I wanted to do the next one, we zoomed in to this, how many little tiny tick marks am I going to have to put here for seconds? Do you see how I can't do it? All right, that'd be 3,600 seconds. So I can't really technically draw 3,600 perfect little. So understand, everything's going to be measured in degrees, minutes, and seconds. So all of this, okay, all of this right here is to help us hopefully understand how to convert this into degrees, minutes, and seconds. We almost have a whole degree, don't we? We have what? 0.955, which is almost a whole degree. What I want you guys to do, get your graphing calculator, right? Take 0.955, and we're going to multiply that by 60. Why are we multiplying it by 60? Because there's 60 minutes in a whole degree. This represents how much of a degree we have. This represents how many minutes there are in a degree. What decimal do you get? What's 0.955 times 60? 57.3. So you get 57.3. This represents how many minutes you have. You have 57.3 minutes. So here's what our answer is so far. We have 28 total degrees. We have 57 minutes. And we have slightly more than it, don't we? We have slightly more than 57 minutes. We have an additional 0.3 minutes. So what I want you guys to do is take the 0.3 minutes and multiply it by how many seconds there are in it. How many seconds are there in a minute? How many seconds? 60 additional seconds in a minute. So what does that equal? 18. So you have 18 seconds. So here's your, I'm going to write that. Here's your final answer. Okay? The final answer is 28 degrees, 57 minutes, and 18 seconds. This represents the number of minutes that you have. This represents the number of seconds that you have. Okay? So we converted the decimal. In review, we converted the decimal 28.955 degrees, or 955,000ths of a degree, to 28 degrees, 57 minutes, and 18 seconds. I want you guys to try to do number 2 on your own. Okay? See if you guys can come up with your final answer. See if you will agree with each other.